Welcome to the Week in Italian Startup, where we discuss the latest highlights happening in the Italian tech and investment ecosystem. All right, welcome everyone for this weekly session of the Week in Italian Startup, where Nicolò and we discuss the latest news happening in the Italian ecosystem. We are live here in Clubhouse. We're available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And this week it's been a dense week on different vertical sides, so we can start directly, and then we can start talking about the first big events. Actually, it's pretty big raise. It's Matchplat, which is a B2B marketing analytics provider, announcing a 3.5 million equity+debt round. So maybe you want to say something more about the platform? It's an interesting play, actually.
Well, from the website, what they're doing is basically they are offering data analytics services, and they sell and provide aggregated data about customers, of course, using artificial intelligence and so on and so forth, market analytics, market analysis, and blah blah blah.
It seems like there is like they're doing like a hybrid model, so they both have a big database of market collection, but at the same time they seem to actually tailor and customize to the needs of the firm. So it's an hybrid play probably.
Yeah, I agree, and it makes sense. I mean, markets are so broad that possibly cannot have all the data at hand. So basically, once you have a new customer, you can personalize and customize the solution to them for the customer. They announced this hybrid raise, 3.5 million between equity and debt. From the article, they say that the equity part was raised starting from December 2020, so in some months. So possibly this is a syndicated round where many smaller investors participated to the round. Yes, exactly. What's interesting is the pre-money. If you can scroll back to the valuation, they say that the valuation of the company is 27 million euros.
A huge jump, actually, from the original valuation. It's massive.
27 is not a small number. So,
yeah. No, for sure. All right, very interesting. Let's see what's gonna happen then with the service and with the company, for sure.
Yeah, the stated goal is to go international. So we'll see what they do. Awesome. Congrats for the round, though.
No, for sure. No, huge round. Huge round. Good job. Moving to the next is about Endu. Endu essentially is a community of people passionate about endurance sports, which gather together. So Endu is a platform that aggregates a lot of information for a very specific vertical. Actually, I didn't know the existence of this platform. It's very, very verticalized. Is events, is community. They organize gatherings. There is like a TV, like a YouTube channel, and so on and so forth. And they managed to raise about 1 million euros from CDP Venture Capital. So pretty much from one of the, I was counting them today, one of the 9 funds that they have active. And this is the startup, the relaunch fund. Exactly.
Yeah, that fund was specifically set up to support startups during the pandemic. So this is a very specific funding in order to relaunch, in a sense, economic actors from Italy.
No, for sure.
They use quasi-equity instruments in I think almost all of the operations they complete with this fund.
Yeah, and what is interesting is that it's not only that they use a quasi-equity, so it's always a convertendo, so essentially it's a loan that will convert in the future, but they only co-invest. That's another interesting element. So they're never leads. They always require some other investor to come in and then they're gonna evaluate the deal if it's interesting for them or not. For sure is an interesting strategy, and they've been deploying like crazy. So I mean, awesome fund for sure. Awesome.
And it makes sense. It makes sense to find co-investor to somehow state the quality of the target.
Yeah.
So that lower due diligence, and you just support companies that you think are good investments.
Totally.
Or someone else at least thinks something like that.
And huge also user base is about 600,000 users on the platform. So there are a lot of people crazy about endurance sports for sure. Very
I agree. I didn't think about it. I had no idea that there was such a strong community around endurance sport. But
yeah, same here.
Nice.
Interesting. All right, let's go to a more brick and mortar sort of business. And Mylab Nutrition Group, a company that essentially manufactures health supplements, food supplements of different sorts. I think they have around like 100 products or so. And they raised like a little bit more than $500,000 from a syndication of investor, including LVenture Group, so big accelerator/venture investor in Italy, CDP, and then Network Capital, which is a boutique investment firm based around Turin, essentially.
Yeah, so CDP is again from the startup relaunch fund.
Exactly. Yeah.
So another example of this co-investment strategy to support startups.
I mean, this is a more of a small and medium enterprise support instead of purely digital sort of business. So they're really trying to help the small and medium enterprise, which have like some form of angle in the digital space, but not necessarily. I mean, these guys are doing food supplements, and e-commerce is probably a part of the business, but not the core of the business model. So that's definitely interesting.
I have no idea. I believe they are pretty much a direct-to-consumer startup in this sense. They've been accelerated by LVenture, I believe.
Okay.
I don't know too much about traditional distribution. I believe there's some, but I would argue that it's probably more a direct-to-consumer online type of distribution at this moment. So
at this moment,
strategy, yes.
Yeah. Cool. Interesting. All right, digging into something more technical, dynamic optics, that's an interesting deal actually, and it's more of a technology transfer deal. Again, in Italy, it's really common to have this technology transfer initiative where funds are essentially investing in technology stemming from universities or different other research institution. I believe dynamic optics is like another good example probably. And it's a good raise because it was also supported by Mito Technology, which is a company that has been investing for a long time in tech transfer in general in Italy. So it's also something worth mentioning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not much to add here. So it's
there you go.
Early stage startup and. Also.
Exactly. I was about to say, so the dynamic optic is a spin-off of the CNR, which is a national research institution. Extremely interesting. All right. Next is Aquaseek. So Aquaseek, essentially, they're developing a methodology to extract water from the atmosphere. And the project looks extremely cool, and it has been backed by some of the most, active investor, which are taking very, very risky bets, like LIFTT from Turin. They always essentially try to invest in moonshots idea, I would say, from different angles, and they're not necessarily verticalized, but they're trying to really bring exceptional project that has the potential to explode. And then other people that we mentioned before, Eureka Venture, which we mentioned before talking about Black Sheep marketing, where they do a marketing focused fund, and now essentially they're doing more technology and I would say intellectual property sort of play in this kind of
they made their original fund is a technology transfer fund, so that's,
there you go.
Aquaseek is their bread and butter.
Exactly.
Original investment thesis. Actually, I recently found out that I believe, and if anybody is listening, please correct me if I'm wrong, that the correct pronunciation is LIFTT.
LIFTT. Okay. Interesting. Didn't know.
Me neither. So happy to know, and happy to be corrected if I'm still wrong.
Interesting.
And finally, I want to add that Aquaseek is a very impact-related investment, because basically the main target is desertified countries, people living where fresh water is not reachable. So it's a very ESG compliant type of investment, I would say. And it is probably something that we'll see coming up more and more as we proceed in this type of economy, I would say. Investors are really interested in this type of investments.
It's a good intersection. It's ESG, is impact, but at the same time, it's based on a solid technology, and you have essentially very capable investors. So LIFTT is backed by some of the best angel investors, essentially in Italy. So that's definitely something worth keeping an eye on. Beautiful deal for sure. All right. Talking about automotive, very interesting play. MotorK here trying to grow its customer base and service base probably through acquisition. So MotorK is essentially acquiring 3 companies at the same time, which is pretty impressive. One from Spain and 2 from France. And they are very aligned in terms of what MotorK is doing and also additional service that they might provide. So that's also a very, very cool way to actually grow the business.
We don't know much about the specifics of the acquisition, so whether there was cash, equity, a mix of the two. We don't know much about it. But still, as you said, it is interesting to see that MotorK started out with a very aggressive inorganic growth. I don't know whether MotorK was already present in France or Spain. But this strategy might be a good one to kickstart these countries.
Yeah. And I think the Spanish company is more related toward digital marketing in general. They're more of a B2B solution, is a software as a service provider, MotorK from their side. So they're trying probably to integrate a lot of those services just to provide automotive retailers with the best tools for their sales. So they're really trying to put everything together and do this, to kind of create this behemoth of the SaaS automotive.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So we are seeing expand customer base, expand footprint in other countries, expand the service catalog, the product catalog. So there is everything in this type of in these years. Exactly. So I'm reading, we will further expand MotorK's footprint in France. So it seems that it was already operating in the country. Excellent.
Very interesting. Okay, moving on. Two interesting funds have been launched. One is 5 Seasons Ventures. Second fund, 5 Seasons, operates in the food tech space in general. It's a big raise for a food tech oriented venture fund. It's 180 million. The target is 180 million. They already are managing a fund which is, I think, about 77 million. So they're definitely playing they're becoming one of the reference points for sure in the food tech ecosystem. I would say in Europe. I don't know. What do you think, Nico?
I agree. Absolutely. With the first fund, the company has invested across Europe actually already. I'm putting it to the newsletter, even if it's a French fund. Most of the team is Italian. They are Italian. So I kind of put our label on 5 Seasons Ventures.
It would count as Italian. It would count.
Yeah, come on, just a little bit.
In a way, exactly.
And we co-invested together in Cortiglia, for example. We share a portfolio.
Okay. Very
but they're absolutely European from inception. So reading from the article, Germany, France, Italy, Portugal, Switzerland, and the UK are countries where they already invested.
Perfect.
Only 14 companies, so not a huge portfolio with the first fund. So
I agree.
Specific.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Second fund, which has been has gathered some good articles. It's very interesting. It's one of the I would say one of the first crypto funds where some big Italian wealth manager is putting some action into, which Azimut together with 2 other companies have been financing this $75 million fund, which is based in Singapore, and the objective is really to work into crypto, from decentralized finance to regtech to DLT, so on different verticals. But it's definitely something worth mentioning, because Azimut, we've seen, have been playing a little bit in the crypto space, and it's probably one of the few Italians wealth manager like kind of exploring the space like seriously, which is I would expect something like that. So it makes sense that they're doing this, and I'm not surprised. But
they're really ahead of their competitors. I don't know whether it was the beginning of this year or end of last year when they launched that tokenized portfolio again with Sygnum, which is kind of a crypto-related bank, digital asset bank, whatever. It was November 2020, so from last year, end of last year. So Azimut has been quite active, not only in the venture capital but in the crypto space, and they're putting money on it. So they're offering products and services. So I'm not that surprised that they are co-launching this fund.
Yeah, and
maybe almost earlier than expected, but still.
Yeah,
very good.
I mean, that's the thing. For being an Italian wealth manager, which I'm sure with all the possible barrier or mental blocks, talking about crypto and alternative assets, they are very ahead of the curve. So joining forces with some Japanese and Swiss companies and going all in for the exploration. So it's definitely some companies to keep in mind.
If I'm not wrong, actually, the fund will be Singapore-based, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah. The company is Singapore-based.
Yeah, not European or Italian.
No way. No way. They're trying to simplify their life, trying to make it like work in the simplest and cleanest possible way. Very interesting. All right. One other element that you point out, Nico, is the Italian roadmap for advanced air mobility. So something that we'll hear probably more and more is AAM, which stands for Advanced Air Mobility. This is a report that has been created together with the Ministry of Transportation and other consultants. And I was like kind of looking into the report, which I found through your link. A lot of material, extremely interesting. What I found more interesting was, of course, first of all the people that have been involved in the project. So from Leonardo to
all the big names, all the huge names are there.
Totally. All the huge names are there. I was interested also in the 4 focus areas for Italy. So from now to 2030. So there are 4 main essentially identified verticals. One is air taxi, the other is medical and goods delivery, inspection and mapping, and agricultural support. So that kind of narrowed down to 4 macro areas that they want to develop.
Yeah, the most interesting one is air taxi. So I mean, imagine the situation where you have a vertical, vertical landing and takeoff airplanes or whatever,
for sure.
With bases across the city where you can fly around and be taken here and there.
Yeah,
it's probably too futuristic, but still.
And it's not obvious because also the law needs to change in terms of air traffic regulations. So before it was just above a certain level of heights, and I've seen this also happening in some other ecosystem, like in the US. I believe that a lot of cities like LA, they've been like working a lot on the sort of drone regulation for sort of a lower level vehicles that are flying essentially around the city for commercial uses. So there are like a ton of regulation like happening also.
Yeah, that's very complicated. I mean, yes. I'm not aware of the latest evolutions, but in Italy, it's very, very difficult to get permission to fly a drone beyond line of sight. So you have to see it. For example, for delivery, that makes things quite difficult if you need to fly across a complex environment such as a city. So I can see why the plan is looking 10 years ahead.
Yeah. But interesting material for sure. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. All right, let's end up talking about some interesting milestone that you point out. So one is Satispay, reaching 2 million active users. So these guys are just killing it. Nothing to say, nothing to add. They're just a rocket ship. So awesome job, definitely. One of the unicorns, essentially. A great example of a unicorn from Italy. So awesome, awesome team and awesome company.
Not yet, at least publicly, but in philosophy, unicorn is the way. English speakers are very creative in terms of labels. That's awesome. Yeah, unicorn.
And second big milestone is from one of your portfolio company, Cabit, which is partnering, and this is a big deal, with Sygnum, which is a 5G operator. So tell us more about this.
Well, Cabit, there's a bit of conflict of interest in this news, but still I found it interesting. I mean, Cabit is a startup developing distributed cloud infrastructure, meaning think Dropbox without a data center. And Sygnum is 5G operator, so which thinks distributed from day one. They're a very, very active operator on the innovation side. They have a lab supporting open innovation projects, and I find it interesting, this experimentation starting with Cabit in order to see whether putting together networking infrastructure and distributed data infrastructure can create a positive mix for the end customers. I think yes, of course, but I mean, I've got a vested interest in this.
No, but it's good to know. I like insights, so it's good to see what is happening in Cabit. Do you think that's gonna really like boost all Cabit? Like maybe tell us something more about Cabit in general, so people can understand better, and then how this partnership will affect their speed of development, I would say.
Well, basically, Cabit offers a solution where you can pick any storage device or storage computer connected with a storage item in your home, in your business, in your office, and you can hook it up on the Cabit network, and you will get a Dropbox-like service, having access to part of your storage anywhere. The other part of your storage will be left in use by the platform to get distribution of all the files of the storage facilities of all the users of the network. So basically, you are sharing your local data storage with all the other users in order to get distributed access to your files.
Perfect.
And it's private by design, very secure, meaning that there's an end-to-end encryption of everything. So nobody has access to your files. Actually, your files don't have a physical location. They have a logical location across the network. There's no data center where all files are stored. And one of the key issues is that if your files are stored at the edge, because it means that they are physically in offices, in homes, in houses across the network.
The network, sure.
Connectivity and speed of access is a very important point. So this, partnership with Sygnum is extremely functional in understanding how the connection and the relationship with the network provider can create a better service for all the Cabit users.
So this is like jet fuel essentially for them, because with 5G they can really speed up like everything that is happening on their network.
Exactly, right? That's almost a killer application. And if you think about it, Cabit can offer on top of this type of service more things. I mean, if you offer storage at the edge, it means that you have a very fast access to that storage if you're close to it. So you can set up very tricky and smart ways to distribute content across the network in order to make it very handy for any consumer to get access to it fast, reliably. So,
right, Nicola,
we'll
fantastic. Yeah, we'll see. Awesome. So thank you very much for joining. Thank you to all the listener. Again, this is the Week in Italian Startup, and we are here every week, and we're available on Spotify and Apple Podcast. So thanks everybody, and I'll see you next week.
Yeah, thank you, Jack. It was a pleasure. We didn't mention the special episode from last week, but in case you have any questions, doubt, comments, please reach out to us. Happy to comment. There are more guests coming up, so feel free to provide suggestions on who you would like us to interview on our podcast. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Nico. See you later. Bye.